Zed is a bit underrated, but he's actually amazing in this meta. Also, why is blue buff so good on him? The best opener if you wanna play Zed is probably Shaku with any AD items. You have like Infinite Edge, BT, and Edge of Night being like the best build of Zed. But you can build other items also, like Sterak, Hand of Justice if you don't have BT. I think the only core items it's like Infinite Edge and maybe Edge of Night, although whenever he like ults, he drops aggro anyway, so you don't really need Edge of Night that much, especially if there's not any like single target carry in the enemy team. Once you have this board, the other units you can add until like level 8 are actually pretty flexible. You can play like, for example, more Bruisers to have like 4 Bruisers. You also can play like 2 Slayers with like maybe you high roll a Jarvan and you have a Vayne. But also you can play like maybe just 2 Vanguards. You can play this with maybe a Rust, and that's fine. You don't really care about what you play that much until level 8 because Divini Corp it's like actually a very flexible board because you can play any Divini units pretty much. So don't try to like flex too much into like, oh, I need to play as many Slayers as possible. Just play the strongest board you have. Once you're level 8, this is usually your board. You have a Renekton here, of course, this is a high roll, but you can play other units as well. For example, you can play more Divini Corp units, or you can play any legendaries that make sense. Maybe a Zac, maybe a Kobuko for CC and stuff like that. So don't sweat too much about like, oh, what if I don't hear Renekton? He's the late game carry until like stage 6, you should be fine autoing with Zed and maybe Sam. The board is actually pretty simple. You want 4 Slayers because you get a lot of AD from them, and you want as many Divini Corps as possible because Divini Corps gives you a lot of stats on your main carry, which is Zed. Now, a very important thing about Zed is the positioning. You only see Zed being put here or hit by most of the pro players. But what exactly does it do? Why don't I put it in the corner? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Zed ultimate has a 4 hex range, so he's gonna ult the unit that is dead. For example, here, if I wanna hit Xayah on the left corner, I want to be here. If I wanna hit the Xayah on the right corner, I wanna be here. Now, you might ask, oh, why don't you put it in the corner? Isn't Xayah the like closest unit? Well, yes, you're right. But here is the thing. What if the enemy has, for example, a Morgana in this hex? Who's in a 4 hex range? You see? You're gonna go on Morgana. But if you are here, you're always gonna go on Xayah. Now, this is not 100% guaranteed because the enemy can have a unit here in the center. So Zed can 50-50 if he goes to Morgana or Xayah. Same on the left side. Now once you have this level 8 board, you want to push levels and go 9 because you want to have Garen as soon as possible. But why exactly Garen? Why not another legendary? Well, Garen actually helps you in this board a lot because you can get a Divini Corp emblem or a mod or a Slayer mod, both that are very good because Slayer Renekton gives him a lot of AD, can be Slayer Garen as well, and Divini Corp is amazing on Zed. So what about blue buff? Why is blue buff good? Well, blue buff is actually very good on Zed because the way Zed works is that every time when he ults, he just diaggros. For those that don't know what diaggro means, imagine Xayah auto attack Zed, Zed ults, and then there's no Xayah auto attacking Zed anymore. That's how his ult works. So with blue buff, you're gonna ult a lot of times. So getting focused by the enemy carry is even harder. Also, it's not like blue buff is actually a bad item. You get a lot of damage for 8 seconds, which is actually pretty much late game. Now, that doesn't mean you should build blue buff as a priority on Zed. But it happens that multiple times you can get a lot of manas and you don't have a carry. So for example, if you find yourself in a situation where you have like Bloodthirster and Infinite Edge and you don't have a third item for Zed, maybe because you made like anti-heal or stuff like that, blue buff is actually a good alternative. The main reason Zed is actually very good in this meta is because there's a lot of enemy carries that are ranged, that they stay in corner. Only Graves I think is the only threat Zed has, but outside of that you pretty much can snipe everyone. So just imagine a scenario where a fellow just dies in the first 10 seconds of the fight just because Zed ulted him. That's a lot of DPS gone from the enemy. Hope you guys liked the video, let me know if you have any questions and see you at the next one.